What's going on, guys? So in this video, I felt like doing something a little bit different. So in the very beginning stages of this channel, over 3 years ago, there was a specific collection of fragrances that I used to recommend more than others. Some I still recommend on occasion, but I wanted to revisit these and discuss, do I still think they're worth checking out several years later? Because a lot of these you can still find for a really good price, and some of them are very special in my opinion. So it's a very specific collection of 10 fragrances that I want to talk to you about that are past channel favorites. So let's talk about them. Stay tuned. Starting with one that I've had a 50 ml bottle of in the past. I've had this 30 ml for a few years now. I hardly wear it, and it's a shame because it's such a good fragrance. We're talking about Burberry Touch. This is a classic right here. Beautiful violet leaf. It's a little powdery. Some woods. A little citrusy. It's easygoing. It's versatile. It works for just about anything. Great work fragrance, great casual fragrance, great evening fragrance. Signature scent type of stuff. Burberry's, I don't know if it's their most popular seller of all time for men, but it's one of. It's gotta be one of. I'm sure London is right there with it, but this is so much fresher and has so many more uses than a Burberry London. And I used to recommend this one a lot at the beginning of the channel, and I still think it's absolutely must check out. This is a must check out fragrance. I'm not saying you should roll the dice and blind buy it, but wherever they have Burberry fragrances and you can try it, or you can get a sample, or maybe you can get a partial for really cheap online from somebody in a Facebook group or on eBay where you can spend 10, 15 bucks, that might be worth rolling the dice, because this may be your next easy grab, dumb reach type of fragrance, because it literally works across the board in every season. It's fresh enough for the summer, it's dense enough with enough performance for the winter. It dresses up, it dresses down. Like I said, signature scent worthy stuff that I used to recommend it all the time years ago, and I still think it's worth recommending today. One of my past channel favorites that's still really good in my opinion, Burberry Touch. This is one that I used to wear to dinner pretty often, and it kind of got shoved to the wayside, and I stopped wearing it for a long time. And when I was putting this video together, I sprayed it on my hand earlier today. I'm talking about Mr. Burberry Eau de Parfum. This got unfairly crapped on for a long time. This is a beautiful, fresh green and spicy fragrance. Very evening appropriate. It's better than the Eau de Toilette in my opinion. It's classier than Indigo, even though I do like Indigo more. This is still such a great fragrance. The bottle is sexy looking. It's black with the bow tie. Admittedly, it can double just fine as a daytime scent, a work scent. One of my old bosses, this was his daily work scent when I worked at Mercedes. This is what he wore every day. It's good stuff. If you like that kind of rosemary, fresh green type of smell, this is a good fragrance for that. Nobody talks about this one anymore. I couldn't tell you the last time I saw a scent of the night, scent of the evening, scent of the day post. It just kind of fell into obscurity. And I'm here to hopefully resurrect a little bit of love for this one, because I still have a lot of love for this fragrance, even though I have not wore it in a long time. Sniffing on it and smelling it today reminded me of how much I actually enjoy this. I know it's kind of strange. We started with 2 Burberry fragrances, but these are 2 of my all-time favorite scents that Burberry's ever put out, and this is a dark horse. No one gives this any love. So if you can secure a sample pretty cheap, maybe try it out. Is it remarkable and so original and mind-blowing and oh yes, you've been missing out? No, it's not. I'm not saying any of that. But I am saying it's worth giving a shot because it doesn't smell like everything else that's been coming out the last couple of years. That's a plus if nothing else, right? I still recommend trying this one. I don't think it's amazing, but it's a solid fragrance that gets no love. Mr. Burberry Eau de Parfum. Such a great violet leaf fragrance that will kind of remind you of a fresher version of Fahrenheit. We're talking about Ermenegildo Zegna Uomo. There was a time when 30 mLs like this, 100 ml bottles, were all showing up the rack stores. You get 100 milliliters for 20 bucks. I paid $8 on clearance, if I remember. It was either $8 or $11. I want to say $8. $8 on clearance for this 30 ml. Years ago at a Marshall's. And damn it, it's still a good fragrance. Very, very, very dominant on this violet leaf note. It adds this metallic, not quite aquatic tone, but metallic, a little bit of that petroleum smell that you get from Fahrenheit. It's kind of like Fahrenheit light in some ways. Not exactly Fahrenheit. I have another fragrance in here that smells much more like Fahrenheit than this one, but it'll remind you somewhat of it. It's a little powdery. It's got a little bit of this ozonic, fresh, almost watery aquatic tone, but not quite aquatic. There's a little bit of citrus here. This is a very easygoing, casual, and work day type of fragrance. This is good stuff, and I've done this in the past. The ripples in the glass, I'm sure the microphone picked that up. I've always liked that about this bottle. It's like a 80s retro style to the bottle. I just like that. I've always thought the bottle was cool. Now, is it easy to find these days? Not really. Not really. If you can find this one for still cheap like it used to be, sure, it's worth rolling the dice. But this is one that I would say the time has kind of passed on. Even though I do really like the scent profile, it's just not as easy to find anymore for a cheap price. So it's up to you when you find it if you want to jump on it. If you like fragrances like Fahrenheit, different Fahrenheit flankers, this smells like it could be a Fahrenheit flanker, a fresher one, for example. So yeah, it's decent in that aspect, but nothing so special that I would say you need to hunt this one down. Again, that's Ermenegildo Zegna Uomo. This next one is still my favorite Rosemary fragrance. Absolutely, if you can find this one cheap still somewhere, get it. If you like Rosemary, there's no reason not to get Issey Miyake's Bleue d'Issey Eau Fraiche. This 75 ml I got for right around 20 bucks. They used to pop up at Marshall's all the time. They were all over online for cheap. I don't think they're that cheap online anymore. That's why I say if you can find it cheap, absolutely, it's a great fragrance. Oh, we're going to spray it again. It's so good. Just beautiful, mild, fresh greens. The poster child for my very first video on this channel, a not so citrusy summer fragrance, because there's no real citruses dominating this. It's all about fresh greens. And I'm a sucker for fresh greens in the warmer weather, especially this spring. It works great in the summer. This was my very first Issey Miyake fragrance. I kind of moved away from it. As you can see, it's not some huge dent. There was a stretch where I was wearing it pretty heavily, and I kind of got away from it. I like a lot of variety with my fragrances, so I have a ton of bottles that just have small dents in them. Shame on me. That's not enjoying certain fragrances enough, and this one deserves more attention. That's why I say if you could find this one for cheap or an affordable price, a reasonable price today, absolutely worth checking out in my opinion. Not something you're really going to be able to sample. It would have to be a blind buy, so just know that it's rosemary heavy, fresh green, fresh spicy type of smell. If you like that kind of thing, you'll probably like this. Performance is sneaky on it. I've gotten a compliment 7 hours into wearing this fragrance before, so don't let the Eau Fraiche name fool you that it's just a 2 or 3 hour fragrance. It's actually an average to slightly above average performer. This is some good stuff. One of my past channel loves that I still think is great. It's Issey Miyake Bleue d'Issey Eau Fraiche. Now this is the fragrance that smells much more like Fahrenheit. I recently featured its older brother, the Intense Flanker, in a video. That one smells more like Fahrenheit minus the leather, whereas this is more like Fahrenheit cologne. Fresh Fahrenheit, basically. It's the original Mercedes-Benz. I still sporadically wear this one from time to time. I sprayed it when I was putting these together. It's still good. A lot of citruses. You still get that violet leaf smell. There's some fresh greens here also. It's a slightly average to a slightly above average performer, like a 5 to 7 hour fragrance. This is great in the summer. This is like summertime appropriate Fahrenheit. if you're into that scent profile in any way and you just like fresh fragrances, then this is probably the one for you. This was the very first Mercedes-Benz fragrance. It is literally called Mercedes-Benz by Mercedes-Benz. This spawned a bunch of great flankers. Mercedes-Benz Ultimate is the newest one to release that I have not tried yet. That's supposedly like Parfums de Marly Greenleaf, from what I can tell. I would like to get that one at some point. But I have most of them. I don't have the Eau de Parfum in silver, but I have the Intense. I have multiple bottles of Mercedes-Benz Cologne. That's an amazing citrus fragrance. But I haven't really spent a ton of time with this one like I used to wear it much more often. I used to have one of the little small bottles as well before I had this of the original Mercedes-Benz. And it's one that, like I said, if you're a fan of Fahrenheit but like fresh fragrances, you would like this one. But it's nothing groundbreaking that I would say run out and get. I would recommend getting the Intense over this. It's a much better performer. It's a much more deep and complex fragrance. But it's also not that great for the warm weather. So if you live in a hot climate where it's hot most of the time, let's say the Gulf Coast, for example, this might be the better option for you because it is a lot fresher. You don't lose a ton of performance out of it. And it smells great. Does not smell cheap. You can find this one for around $30 for 4 ounces of this fragrance. Still, I think it's still a good pickup if that's your situation. We're talking about the original Mercedes-Benz. So here's one that I haven't worn quite some time. I used to recommend this one a good bit. This is perfumed by my main man, Claude Deer. This is Lacoste pour Homme. I haven't worn this one in some time. Beautiful, beautiful, like plum sweet fruit. Little bit of like a more woody and fruity take on Boss Bottled in some ways. Because you get the apple smell, you get the cinnamon, you get a little bit of the woods. There's more complexity here. There's more going on here than Boss Bottled. Whew, it is good. That plum really jumps out. It's a little bit warmer and spicier. The woods are a little bit drier, but there's a light creaminess to it. This has a lot of character. I haven't wore this one in a long time. I still think it smells fantastic. 100 mLs like this used to go for about $30. Is that still the case? I don't know. I haven't looked in a long time. If that's still the case, you can still get it in that realm. Absolutely worth grabbing. This, for the longest time, was my favorite Lacoste fragrance. I have a few others that I think I might take over this one at this point, most notably L1212 White. But I gotta say, this still holds up. This still holds up. This is still really good, especially for the season that we're moving into now. This is great for the fall, and I think I need to leave this one on my rotation table. This is good stuff. Claude did a great job here. Definitely very designer type of smell. Like, it doesn't smell really expensive. It smells on the cheaper side, but not too cheap. But the ingredients used, the scent profile created, it just screams autumn weather. Casual or semi-casual, semi-formal type of attire. So it goes for just about anything, in my opinion, for the cooler months. It's good stuff. I absolutely would recommend this one. I used to recommend this one early in the channel, and now that I'm revisiting it, I still say it's really good. It's Lacoste Pour Homme. So this was, I think, the very first unboxing first impressions rack store fragrance. I think so. On this channel, it was Davidoff Cool Water Wave. I picked this up at Nordstrom Rack. I unboxed it, did a first impressions. Then I ended up doing a review shortly after. And I still love this fragrance. This is still a great grab for $20. 4.2 ounces of this, still available. So aquatic. It's a shower gel scent. It'll remind you a little bit of Invictus Aqua, but it's a spicier take on that. The juniper provides the aromatics. The Sichuan pepper has this fleeting, kind of warm spice. It's very aquatic and watery. It has a bit of that aromatic shower gel smell to it. I don't know, it's just something about it. You can bathe in this scent. You can spray it super heavy if you want. You're not going to offend anyone. I still think this is great. I still think this is one of the best $20 fragrances out there. If you like freshies, this is a great fresh and clean aquatic fragrance that's in the, like I said, in the realm of Invictus Aqua, but doesn't smell exactly like Invictus Aqua. It kind of smells like cool water mixed with Invictus Aqua in many ways. This is still one of my favorite flankers from the line for sure. I do love the new Grapefruit and Sage. I do have a lot of love for the Intense. Love the Parfum. That's my favorite version of Cool Water, but this is still up there. I think I'd still take this over the Intense, to be honest with you, just because of the scent profile alone. It's one of the better shower gel scents out there. Nothing groundbreaking here, just for me personally. I really enjoy it, and I'd still recommend this one. That's Davidoff Cool Water Wave. One of my original highest viewed individual fragrance review videos. I forgot how many views it's got at this point. This was one of the first handful or so of individual reviews that I did on the channel. And the review still holds up, and I still feel this way, about Dunhill Desire Red. It's a lovely fragrance. I haven't worn this in some time. Haven't worn it in quite a while. Beautiful vanilla, woods. It's got a lot of character. A lot of sandalwood, or it's kind of a sandalwood smell that jumps out at me. Kind of this drier wood smell. There's a little bit of fresh spice to this. Vanilla jumps out, but it's not a super creamy vanilla. This is a great daily wear, signature scent type of fragrance that's kind of out of the norm. And when I say out of the norm, it doesn't smell like everything else that's out now. This is not a new fragrance. It's been out for a long time now. I think 15 plus years. I don't remember exactly how long. I want to say early 2000s this came out. It's still a really good fragrance. The only flanker I have to it is Dunhill Desire Bleue, which is another fantastic fragrance, fruity, fresh, aquatic fragrance. But this stuff is great workwear. This goes with work attire, especially if you're indoor in your setting. It's not too loud. It does stick to the skin for a good while. I do get pretty good longevity out of this one, above average. It's not a beast, but above average longevity. It's not a really strong, super loud fragrance. After about an hour and a half, it gets a lot closer to the skin. I would say maybe even going into the 2-hour mark. But this is really good stuff. I would still recommend it. It's kind of a timeless scent profile at this point. Spawned a ton of flankers. I haven't tried even close to all of them. I only tried like 2 or 3 of them. Silver, Blue, and I think Blue Extreme or Ocean Blue. There's like multiple of the blue flankers too, but anyways, I digress. This stuff's still really good. I don't know if you can still get it for $20 for a 100 ml. I got this at a TJ Maxx for $20. I remember specifically back when I was in Texas. And yeah, I don't think it's amazing. It's not the greatest fragrance out there, but because it's so different from modern releases, I think it's worth checking out if you're looking for something that's just a little different, but still not really a challenge. And I'm sure you can still get it pretty cheap. It's Dunhill Desire Red. So I feature this one from time to time. I just talked about it literally within the last week. We're talking about Coach for Men. Yes, 10 times over, yes. Absolutely still a good fragrance. I still recommend this one. I love this fragrance. I'm starting to rekindle the fire and the passion for this scent profile. A beautiful, juicy pear, ambergris, amberwood smell, soft, buttery suede. I love this stuff. Super versatile, blue-style fragrance that doesn't smell like all of them. That's one of the things I've always enjoyed about this. It's kind of its own blue fragrance. Gray is actually a good color scheme for it in the gradients. I think more gray when I smell it than blue, honestly, because certain fragrances will evoke a certain color when you smell them. It's not just visual aids. Sometimes the bottle color or the name will coincide with what you're going to feel about it, because a lot of fragrances do evoke a certain visual color. This one does give kind of a grayish blue, like a faded blue, if you will, because it has aspects that makes it a blue fragrance, but it's got this fuzziness to it. That's probably because of that rough suede. When I say rough suede, think suede that's so buttery that when you run your finger across it, it changes color because of the grain moving from side to side. I know that's a little over-explaining, but I want to make sure you understand where I'm coming from when I say fuzzy, because that's an interesting way to describe a fragrance. I get it. But this stuff is super mass appealing, not the strongest performer, but damn it, you can wear this with a suit if you want to. It's really good stuff. You see how I perked up a lot for this one, because this is the one I would recommend the most out of every fragrance in this video. I still think this is great. Definitely check this one out if you haven't yet. It's Coach for Men. Last but not least, a fragrance that is my second bottle. I have not wore it much. I still think it's a great introductory into tobacco. It's CK1 Shock. There's some fruitiness up top. There's a soft, moist tobacco smell to this. It's great in the winter. It still provides some freshness. Very entry-level beginner type of tobacco Like I said, moist, wet, juicy tobacco smell. The earthiness is not overdone here. It's more creamy and moist. There's a little bit of woody tones. There's a light green touch. There's some spice. There's a few things. There's other facets to the fragrance. Besides, I want to say it's like a tangerine note or orange note of some sort up top. So that orangey, citrusy type of smell. And the tobacco. There's more facets to it than that. But that's mainly what I get from them. And you can still get this for 20 bucks for a 100 milliliter bottle. 30 bucks for a 200 milliliter bottle. I still think this is the best CK1 flanker. I really like the summer flankers. I've been grabbing them every year. They put out a lot of solid fragrances in this line, but even to this day, I still think CK1 Shock is the cream of the crop when it comes to CK1 flankers. So if you haven't gotten your nose on this one yet, or you're just kind of starting out with the hobby and you're curious on if you would like tobacco, I'm not saying if you like this, you'll like every tobacco, but this is a good way to kind of dip your toe into a designer tobacco scent for 20 bucks. Yeah, I still think it's good. I'd still recommend it. It's Calvin Klein CK1 Shock. Well, that's the 10 past channel favorites that I wanted to revisit and see, is it stuff I would still recommend to you guys? For the most part, yes. There's a few that maybe not so much because of challenge to find, or maybe they're just not that special. But there's others that still really get me excited to this day that are scent profiles that I just love. Some of them are even timeless in my opinion. And until next time, do me a real quick favor. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. So I do appreciate all the feedback, and I love hearing from you guys. Which of these 10 have you tried, or do you have? And what do you think about them? Good or bad? Very curious to see what you guys think. Is it stuff that you really enjoy? Is it stuff that you tried and you ended up not liking and it was a pass for you? Let me know down in the comments. And until next time, I will say if you get your hands on any of these 10 and you give them a spray now, you might end up thanking me later. Have a good one, guys.